Welcome to Rachel's Advice Corner, where I give you extremely niche crochet advice. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this plushie because... Hello and welcome to the Faded Wildflower Crochet. My name is Rachel, and today is another episode of Will It Ami, which is a series on my channel where we test out different types of yarn and see if they work for amigurumi. Now, today's yarn might look a little bit familiar. So if you have been watching my channel, you will know that I made this sweater for a video, and it was my first ever cardigan. And this is the yarn that I used for it. I ended up having a whole skein left over. And of course, the whole time I was working with it, I thought, I wonder how this would work up as a plushie. So that is what we are going to be doing today. Now, since I have already tried this yarn, I thought to keep it interesting, I would try a pattern that I've never tried before, which is this cute little pig. Now, it is the same designer as these cute little snowy owls behind me, which I will put on the screen because I can never pronounce it right. So I already know that I like the designer, but I haven't tried this pig yet, but I think he is so adorable. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at this yarn. Before we get started, I am so happy to announce that today's video is sponsored by Hooks and Needles. If you don't know what Hooks and Needles is, it is a subscription service with your choice of a crochet box, a knitting box, or an amigurumi box. I had the chance to try out the amigurumi box, and I was so impressed with the quality of the cotton yarn in this kit. It also came with everything that I needed to create this cute little bear, which is actually a really nice size. It was so fun to make, and this will make the perfect gift for my daughter for Christmas this year. Something unique about Hooks and Needles is that everyone starts off with the same box, and then every month you get a box that will build on the skills that you learned the month before. I had a peek at the crochet box as well, and I love that they include a beginner pattern, an intermediate pattern, and an advanced pattern. So there is something for every single skill level. There are also video tutorials as well as a dedicated support team and a Hooks and Needles Facebook group that are there to help you out if you're stuck on any of your projects. Another great thing is that you can pause your subscription and pick it back up anytime you need to. And if you need to cancel your box, you can do so hassle-free. If you are interested in trying out Hooks and Needles for yourself, I will have the link in the description below. And you can use my code Rachel20 to get 20% off of your first box. And that is on top of the already discounted prices that they have going on right now. Hooks and Needles makes the perfect gift for yourself or for somebody else in your life that you're wanting to get into crochet. So put Hooks and Needles on your Christmas list this year, and it can feel like Christmas every month. Okay, now back to the video. Okay, here is a closer look at this yarn, which I don't even think I said the name of in my intro just now. But it is called Caron Colorama Halo, and it is called Perfect Phasing, which I have to say from making my sweater is totally accurate. The colors blend so nicely. So my idea is to make the pig in this pink color and then maybe make him a hat or a sweater or a scarf or some sort of accessory in the blue color. And I think that will be so cute and will be a perfect gift for my nephew for Christmas. So let's check out some other details of this yarn. It is a size 5 bulky. It says to use a 10mm crochet hook, which is what I used on my sweater, but I do not know what we'll be using today. Obviously smaller since we're doing amigurumi. And this has 481 yards. As you can see, I bought this on clearance for $7 at my local Joann, which I am hoping doesn't mean that they're going to phase out this yarn and not sell it anymore, because that keeps happening to me where I will fall in love with the yarn and then they no longer make it. So I hope that's not the case with this one. This color is called Rose Garden, which last time I looked was sold out on the website, but you could still find it at Joann, which again makes me nervous. I hope that doesn't mean that they're getting rid of this yarn because I already know that I really love it for sweaters. We'll see if I love it for amigurumi. But there are so many other beautiful colorways. Spoiler alert, I have already purchased this yarn in 2 other colors. One to make a sweater for my older daughter. Oh, hello, Lily. Lily is saying hi. You can't see her because she's over here, but she says hi. So as I was saying, I have actually already repurchased this yarn in 2 different colorways for my daughter's sweaters that I'm making them for Christmas. So I have to say that I already love this yarn and have repurchased it, but I am really curious to see how this works up for amigurumi. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I am all of this far in, and I already have a decision to make. So the pattern does call for this to be dark pink at the end of the feet and hands, and then switch to light pink for the body and the face. And I thought initially that I would just kind of go with the flow and go along with whatever the yarn decided to bring me. But I think it's almost too perfect that I have both a dark pink and a light pink in this skein. So what if we just go ahead and take this yarn apart into the separate colors and see how that looks? Now, like I said, I already know from working with this that it is definitely a perfect phasing yarn. So if you were to make something, I'm thinking like a jellyfish or something like that, or an octopus where you want the colors to flow down, this could also be the perfect yarn. But it could be kind of fun if you have some of this yarn left over in your stash, you can take it apart into the different colors. And that way it kind of makes it a little bit more versatile. So I think that's what we're going to do, especially because I am planning on gifting this to my nephew. And I think it would just be really cute to do the different shades of pink. And then maybe even I'll look at the pattern and go ahead and switch to the blue once we get to the portion that would be the shirt, and do the same on the arms again to make it look like it's wearing a little blue sweater. I think that's what we're going to do. I think that's going to be really cute. But as far as the yarn and the way it's working up, it's beautiful. I love this yarn. You would think that with all of these little kind of fuzzies that come off, that it would snag or be hard to work with. It is not. It is so easy to work with. I did pick up this 3.75 millimeter crochet hook, and it's working absolutely beautifully. No gaps so far. And I am curious a little bit about how this yarn will look as we go along. If it's better to flip it to the wrong side, we will see as we get a little bit further, and I'll show you. But let's go ahead and take this yarn apart into the different sections. So conveniently, I remembered that I have a skein that I've already taken apart. And that is because I used this skein only for the ribbing, that's all. And so I had a ton left. And so what I decided to do with it is to make a little replica of this sweater for an ornament. And I did that because my husband's family has this tradition where you're supposed to bring an ornament that represents the year that you just had. And then my husband's grandma hangs all of those on her tree, and it's just this nice little memory tree of all of the ornaments from the past. And so I made a little replica of this sweater to represent, the fact that I made my very first cardigan, but also just to represent this YouTube channel and this brand new change. And Lily is coming to say hi. And again, you cannot see her. Hold on. There she is. Now the problem is I don't have any of the super dark pink. As you can see, it starts out quite a bit darker, and then it phases to this medium pink and then to this lighter pink. And I feel like the camera's having a hard time with the different colors. They almost look the same, but in person they do look different. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and make the hoof portions of this pig in the color that I have in the middle of this skein. And then when it comes to the body, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on this lighter pink. And then when it gets to the shirt portion, I will change to the blue color. So that is the plan for now. And we'll see, because it is kind of hard to predict where and when the colors are going to change in the pattern, since I've never done this pattern before. So you guys are just along for the journey today. So let's keep going. Okay, here is where we have gotten, and I believe right now I'm going to change to the blue to make the shirt portion or sweater portion. Just based on looking at the photos, I think this is the right place for me to change. And I just have to say I am having the best time. I know you guys like when I struggle. I mean, some of you have openly admitted to enjoying watching me struggle, which, hey, I will take one for the team when it comes to a bad yarn or a bad kit or whatever. But it is always fun for me when I find a yarn that I vibe with, and I do vibe with this yarn. I think that it is so fun, such a nice texture. Now, if you are worried about this yarn shedding like I was in the beginning, I was like, is this going to shed everywhere? It does not. It does not shed while you are crocheting with it. And it also really doesn't come apart that easily. Like nothing. It doesn't shed everywhere as you're wearing it at all. So I am happy to say that I feel like this would be a pretty baby safe option because like I said, even picking at this, it is really not coming apart. Now babies do put things in their mouth. So if you are worried about that, it may be something where you need to observe them as they're playing with it to make sure they're not gnawing on it too much. But I feel like really any type of material, like even like fluffy teddy bears and stuff, would have fibers that would come off if they're chewing on it. So one of those things that you just have to think about with babies. This is going to my 1-year-old nephew, so he is still in that stage where he's putting things in his mouth, obviously, but I wouldn't worry about this one too much. It is definitely not like some other yarns that we've tried where if you just pick at it, it just falls apart. It is not like that at all. The tension is really easy to get right on this. I feel like, I mean, not perfect. I will say, I think there was maybe a stitch here or there where, maybe it doesn't look perfect, but for the most part, it is quite easy. Now, this is qualified as a bulky weight of yarn. And I feel like it doesn't really feel like a bulky weight yarn when you're working with it. And I am using this 3.75, and I could even probably go down to a 3.5 because it doesn't feel like a bulky weight. And I wonder if they classify as a bulky weight just because it adds a little bit of texture and fullness with the fluffiness, but it doesn't feel heavy or like a bulky weight really at all when you're working with it. It feels more like a medium weight, in my opinion. It is a nice, cozy texture. It feels great on the sweater, feels great on the plushie, but let's try turning it inside out just to see what that would look like. So it is quite fluffy on the inside. My goodness. You can see the difference there. So this is the right side where it is still quite fuzzy, but this one, you guys, is so fluffy. Now, I think that for the sake of this particular plushie, I am going to leave it right side out instead of inside out, but that is an option. If you're working with this and you prefer the other side, just flip it inside out. It may not look right because this is the wrong side, but who cares? I feel like a lot of times we get too hung up on some of these rules. If you want to turn your plushie inside out, just do it. Like that's very niche advice, but there you go. Welcome to Rachel's Advice Corner, where I give you extremely niche crochet advice. I don't know, but I am going to take a little bit of a break. I am going to go have some lunch, and then I think I'm going to work on my puzzle a little bit. I got another puzzle from the Magic Company puzzle, and this one is tricky. It is giving me a run for my money. So I think I'm going to go work on that for a bit, take a tiny bit of a break, and then we'll see you when I start working on the Little Pigs t-shirt. But I'm just having the absolute best time. So I thought I would chat with you guys as I'm working on Mr. Pig here. And I am so sorry if you guys are done hearing about this, but I finally went to go see Wicked this weekend with my daughter, with my older daughter. And I was so nervous going in that I wasn't going to like it because, well, first of all, Wizard of Oz was my favorite movie as a small child. I'm talking 4 years old and I knew every single line. It's one of those movies where I didn't just know every line, but I knew the cadence with which the actors would speak the lines. Like, that's how much I was obsessed with this movie. And of course, I read the book once I got old enough, and I'm actually rereading The Wizard of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz right now. And I did try to read Wicked, the book, but it was a lot darker than I was expecting. And I don't mind a dark book here and there, but it was just a bit much for me. I was kind of young at the time. And so then, of course, the stage show came out when I was a teenager, and I knew the songs, but I actually didn't get to go see it on the traveling Broadway until it came to the city closest to me back in March, I believe it was. And so I saw it for the first time this year, saw the stage show. And of course, it was amazing. It was so good. And so now this is like, a very beloved franchise to me already. And so I'd already heard about the movie and heard about some rumblings of, things going on behind the scenes. And I'm like, I don't know, is this going to be any good? And then I heard they were splitting up into 2 parts. And I'm like, what's with that? And so I was really nervous, but every single person in my real life that has seen it has loved it. Not just liked it, but loved it. And everyone online is talking about it, of course. It's a whole phenomenon. And so, of course, I had to go see it and judge for myself. And I loved it. It was so good. It was so much, even though everyone was saying they loved it, it still exceeded my expectations. Like, I absolutely loved it. It did not feel like 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, I was worried that, my daughter would get restless or, whatever. But no, like, she was sat and she was like, I want to watch the other part right now. Why is it not out? She was in love with it. Like, she absolutely loved it. My younger daughter hasn't seen the movie yet, but I think I might bring her back to go see it, even though it is long and she's only 8 years old. I think she'll do a good job, probably better than the kids behind us who were like kicking the seats the whole time. I would never let my daughter do that. So I think she'll be good in the theater. I don't know. If you've taken younger children to see it, let me know. Also, just let me know what you think about the movie in general. Also, let me know which main character you relate to more. I was thinking about this and I'm like, as a younger person, as a younger girl, I would have said Elphaba, but maybe this is controversial. But as I'm getting older, I feel like I can relate to Glinda's plight a lot more in that, sometimes you feel like you have to cover up who you are to keep appearances, because I feel like nobody talks about this enough, but Glinda's like a huge goofball. That really came across in the stage show, maybe even a little bit more than the movie, but Glinda's like this bubbly goofball, like, silly, like not serious person. But she has to kind of put on this perfect facade to make everybody think that she has it all together. But she's really just like kind of a goofball deep down. And I kind of relate to that, like having to, especially starting this channel and having to like be perceived by people. At first, when I first started it, I was like, I have to have everything perfect. Everything has to be clean all the time. And, nobody can see anything amiss in the background. Very, like, I have some perfectionism tendencies in me. And now I'm like starting to try to relax a little bit and let the silly sides of me come out. But, I don't know. There are some things about Glinda I definitely don't relate to and still relate more to Elphaba about. But as far as that side of it comes from, or like having to feel like you have to put on a show all the time, I totally get that. So anyways, I'm still working on Mr. Pig here and it's looking great so far. I think it's about time to do some decreases, but I mean, look at that. How stinking cute. Okay, I'm going to keep going, but again, let me know what you thought about Wicked and which of the characters you relate to. I'm so curious. I'm so sorry to tell you guys that I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this plushie because I'm going to pass away from how cute this is going to be. Are you kidding me? This is looking so adorable. It continues to be an absolute joy to work with. I am loving this yarn. It is so easy. I really didn't know how the tension would be because with this sweater, obviously these are double crochets throughout. Now I did do single crochets for the cuffs, but I wasn't having to pull really tightly like you do with amigurumi. So I wasn't sure if the tension would be harder to do once we were, working with a tighter stitch. But honestly, I feel like the work speaks for itself, how good that looks. I'm having no issues whatsoever, no snagging, nothing like that. It is an absolute dream to work with, and I love the texture as well. So something I'm noticing is that you can see the subtle ombre from the top of the head going down to this darker color. Now it is the perfect phasing, so The transition is very slow and subtle, but I think you can tell compared to the body that this is a little bit darker, whereas this is the same color. And I don't know, I think that that looks really good. And then of course we will put the snout as this darker pink, and then the ends of the hands in the darker pink, and then do the sleeves in the blue. And then of course we are going to continue doing the ears in this same pink. I think altogether it's going to be a really nice effect. I can't wait to see how it works up. So I'm going to finish this up and then I will check in with you guys for my final thoughts. This is also going really quickly and honestly, I could not be happier with this. Here he is, and oh my goodness, so cute. I cannot even handle how adorable this is. I know my nephew is going to love this, but I'm a little bit sad to see him go. I think I might need to make myself one now. Let's talk just a little bit about this pattern before I talk about the yarn. With this pattern, if you are a brand new beginner and you really need a lot of details in your patterns, this is unfortunately not the one for you. There are no instructions on where to put safety eyes. There are no sewing instructions. It is really pretty bare bones, which, you know, I don't mind too much. I do prefer when they have the instructions of where to put the eyes, but for the most part, for me with sewing, I can tell by looking at the photo where to sew the pieces and stuff, so that doesn't really bother me, but I could see a beginner getting frustrated at that, so that is something to keep in mind. One thing I was a little bit disappointed in is that they don't show you a photo from the back. So you do just kind of have to guess where you want the tail to go. But honestly, not too big of a deal. And of course, the design itself is so stinking cute. It definitely speaks for itself just how cute this is. So if you love this, go check it out. And again, just keep in mind that if you are a brand new beginner, you might want to skip this one. So now we're going to talk about some different categories, and I will tell you whether I give this yarn a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a sideways thumb. Now let's talk about, is this yarn easy to work with? And I have to give this an immediate thumbs up. I feel like this yarn is just a dream to work with, you guys. You would think just looking at this that with this halo effect that it might snag or shed, and I am happy to say that it does not. Sewing with this yarn was really easy as well, which I was surprised by. Now, I feel like when it comes to seeing your stitches and the stitch definition, it's not the best yarn in the whole wide world, but honestly, it's not nearly as bad as like a fluffy yarn or even a chenille yarn. You can still see your stitches pretty well. So again, thumbs up for me. This is an easy yarn to work with. Now let's talk about the price of this yarn. Now the price for this yarn is all over the place depending on where you can find this. I have seen this for $8 at Joann or $12 depending on the colorway. I have seen this on the Yarnspirations website for $13. And then I've seen it on Amazon for a 2-pack for $16. So it's really just kind of varies depending on where you can find it. For me personally, I feel like any of those prices are worth it because I like it so much, but you do also get over 400 yards. It's easy to work with. The colors are beautiful. All of the things that I feel like makes it worth that price. Price is just one of those things though that everyone has to decide whether they feel like that price is worth it or not. But for me, I feel like it is. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up. So let's talk about the colors that this yarn comes in. First of all, let's talk about the phasing of the yarn itself. As I already mentioned, I love the way this yarn just slowly goes into the second color. And I love that each skein is exactly the same. So if I bought 2 skeins of this yarn, because I worked on this sweater, I used one skein for this side, one skein for this side, and they worked up exactly the same. I know with yarns like the mandala yarn from Lion Brand, sometimes they don't start on the exact same color. They may be the same colorway, but like one starts with a yellow and one starts with a blue. And that's kind of frustrating when you buy it and you don't really know which color it's going to start with. But this yarn is not like that. It starts with the same color and ends with the same color every time. And the way that the ombre goes and just fades into the next color is so nice. I love that. Now let's talk about the color range that this yarn comes in. There are so many absolutely beautiful options. For my younger daughter, I bought a yarn that starts with magenta and goes into a really light pink and then like an almost white. And then for my older daughter, I bought one that starts with red and goes into purple. It is so beautiful. They're all so beautiful. All of the color ranges that I've seen of this are so, so beautiful. However, it is hard to find them depending on where you look. It seems like this color that I bought is sold out almost everywhere. And, you know, at one place you might find this color and this other place you might find this other color. And I really hope that that doesn't mean that this yarn is getting discontinued. Yarnspirations, girl, if you're watching this, please don't discontinue this yarn. I'm begging you. I really like this yarn and I would hate to see it go. But anyway, I am going to go ahead and give a thumbs up to both of these categories. I feel like the yarn itself, the way that it phases, and as well as the color range, I like both of them a lot. So thumbs up from me. So now it's time to talk about the texture of this yarn. And I already talked about how this does have this really nice halo effect that is really nice and fuzzy and cuddly. Now it is nice on the right side. It is even nicer on the wrong side. I decided to go with the right side for this project, but honestly, in the future, I could see myself flipping it right side out or wrong side out to make it look really, really cuddly and super, super textured. But honestly, on the right side, it's pretty nice as well. Honestly, I feel like if you are someone who is a little bit tired of working with just a plain acrylic and you want something with a little bit of texture, but you're not quite ready for a fluffy yarn or a chenille yarn, or maybe you just don't like fluffy yarns or chenille yarns, but you want something with a little bit of texture, this is a great option for that because you're gonna get this nice fluffy texture without it being really difficult to work with like those other yarns. So in case it's not obvious, this is a thumbs up for me in this category as well. So that's right, we have thumbs up across the board in every category, which I think is the first time that I've ever done that for a yarn. The one con I would say about this yarn, and I wasn't sure which category to put it in, is that it does say that it is a size bulky, but it does lean a little bit more thin than a size bulky. In my opinion, it is much closer to a size 4 than a size 5, but you know, that's not really a deal breaker, especially when it comes to amigurumi. But I would say, like I said, this doesn't really feel like a bulky yarn when you're working with it. So in the end, will Colorama Halo yarn Ami? Yes, it will. And will I be repurchasing this? Well, I already have to make sweaters. But am I really excited to make some more plushies with all of the leftovers of this yarn? Yes, absolutely. And I would definitely not hesitate buying this again. I feel like this turned out so, so adorable, and I cannot wait to see how my nephew loves this at Christmas time. Let me know what you would make with this yarn, and let me know, have you ever taken apart a variegated yarn like this and separated into the different colors? I really love that. I think that it makes it so much more versatile in that way. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, and as always, let me know what were you working on as you watched today's video. If you did like today's video, be sure to hit the like button. You can subscribe, stick around, let me know what other kind of videos you want to see next. You can follow me on Instagram, check out my Etsy shop. You can join my Patreon where I make bonus videos as well as an exclusive pattern once a month. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.